The hotter the conflict, the greater the triumph.
A fiercest serpent may be overcome by a swarm of ants.
Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way. Age wrinkles the body, fitting wrinkles the soul.
Battle buddies.
Battle buddies.
Sure, it's very overpriced.
Yeah, all the
Cut
time.
that part out. Cut that part out.
Well, we can start right now.
Welcome to Battle Buddies. It's been a minute since we've done an at ease. A lot's happened in the world since we've learned about what's going on around the world, all the negative, positive things.
Everything's better now. The world's better.
Woo! Yeah, we're about to get real sad today. And then I have a really fun topic to bring up about us, teachers. And I'm very, very excited to hear your guys' opinion. And you need to just get me on the right track.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
I know you are. Who wants to go first, dude?
Let's go into the whole PGA stuff.
I'm really surprised that that's the subject that you chose.
Yeah. Okay. So, welcome everybody. Spencer already said, well, this is our at ease, and we have Hannah here today.
Sup?
And
A fan favorite.
so Hannah and I are very proud of this conflict because it's one that we've actually followed in real time, and it's related to sports. So we are both keeping up with current events, and they're related to sports. So that's cool for us. Yeah.
So what made you follow this sports news over any other sports news?
My family's pretty big into golf, and they've always followed the PGA. But also our podcast that we love did a story on it, and then we got sucked in.
So
which podcast?
We'll talk about both. Well, we'll put both of them in the show notes, but it was two, and it was on a trip to Reading.
Probably.
Yeah, it's probably a trip to Reading, see my parents. And it was a Freakonomics episode called Sports Washing. And fascinating. So Hannah, what do you remember about sports washing?
I remember a little less about that than I do the LIV Golf. Yeah, but I know it's I can't quite remember what it is they do.
It's like money laundering. So the idea was, by the way, these lights, this harsh lighting stuff is looking great for Hannah's eyes. I hope they really shine in the zoom. It's awesome.
I have a J.J. Abrams glow thing going on right here.
You do have a little bit of some lens flare like you're on the Enterprise. For people that are listening that are confused, we're doing this by Zoom. And now Spencer and I have figured out how to do video on our podcast, even if you're listening on something like Spotify. So make sure that you just have to open your phone and you can see us. If you're interested in that as well.
Whoop, whoop.
Anyway, back to sports washing. So sports washing is this idea that you can kind of correct terrible things by just putting money into things like sports. Like it's essentially like money laundering or that type of thing. It's a little confusing. We were not going to get into the sports washing aspect. What's important about that is that got us onto this idea of LIV Golf before LIV Golf was like this huge buzzword. And LIV Golf was started by Saudi money, and I forget the prince's name. It's MSG, but it's not MSG, but it's something like that. Like he has like an acronym like that. And he's putting lots of money into different tourists and different, he has this huge plan. It's very complicated, but one of it is trying to compete with PGA, and he has these pro players, namely this guy, Greg, what's this dude's name? Greg Norman.
He was like a world champ from Australia.
Wicked smart guy. And he once tried, we learned this later on, because there's also People I Mostly Admire podcast episode where they interview him, and that's fascinating. And through it, you learn that he tried to make a competitor for PGA as well, like years ago, and it failed. And then so when LIV started happening, he jumped on that as well. And so he was like the big guy for LIV. And he is a golfer, but this dude is like crazy smart. He would be a millionaire no matter, even if he never played golf before. But if I understand the problem right, no, I don't want to get this all wrong. Hannah knows way more about golf than I do. So what's the issue with PGA?
So the issue, as Greg Norman and some of the other golfers would have it, is that it's basically a monopoly for, like, their league is like the only league, and they control all the funding and how the money works. And most people who attend the tournaments are not paid to. They're actually paying out of pocket. And so it's kind of a gatekeeping sport a little bit in terms of the money involved, and mass amounts just go to the tour itself, and then like a few specific players. And so Greg Norman's whole thing was, monopoly is not good. To make the PGA be more honest and good, you need some kind of competition, because it forces you to like change with the changing times and all that, rather than just being stuck in their same old ways. He also felt like to get more people into golf, you have to be able to pay some of those people who are borderline pro, like some kind of per diem. So LIV Golf is supposed to be more about the golfer themselves. They're supposed to pay more to the golfer, and not like those huge names like Nicholson and like, people, but like people who are trying to get into the tour, and they're really good, but they can't always quite make it, and they just can't pay for themselves to go to all those tournaments because it's expensive. And so the LIV Golf is supposed to be giving more to the actual golfer, but then there's the whole a lot of people consider it that it's coming from maybe like dirty money, from a place where the politics are not what we should promote. So
Thank you. I think that was great. So
I feel like I know everything now. I feel like I'm completely caught up.
And it gets complicated. So we talked a lot about this today as we were preparing for this, is that we live in just a weird time. The Good Place actually, I think, really nails it. The show The Good Place, when they try to calculate the deeds that they do and decide if they're good or bad. And they're like, but they're so goddamn complicated that who knows if they're good or bad, because the action you did was good, but that action came from money, that came from something nefarious overseas, but then that thing was also like in retribution to something that was more negative. So like, how do you calculate as you go down this complicated chain? And we are looking at the LIV Golf thing as Saudi money's bad. And then we're learning, I think Saudi money goes into like the women's PGA version and like that. So like nobody's
ever said anything.
Saudi money is like in sports and has been, or at least it's in enough stuff for people to be like, this is kind of like a political stand that people are making, and this isn't what the real issue is. And to go off what Hannah was saying off of the they aren't making as much money and they have to fly their own way out. That's all true. And Greg Norman's other thing that he really didn't like is that the PGA books are not transparent at all. So there's no way to know who's taking in most of the money. And that was like a big issue for these players. They're like, hey, I'm dedicating my 30 years of life of working for the PGA, and I'd like to know where the money's going. Because in a place like the NFL that has a union, it's like 50% of the money is transparently going to the players. Whereas PGA, you have no idea. And I don't know. At first, I was totally against the LIV. I was like, I fully bought into the narrative. Like, they're just bad. It's simple. Saudis are bad. They killed, reporters. Like, I just don't like them. And then as you go through it, you're like, I don't know. We live in a capitalist society. Competition's good.
Yeah.
I think the PGA is resisting change and the good capitalist.
Merged.
So anyway, the last that we had listened to, they were both tied up in litigation against each other. Like, they're both suing each other for all these things. It's so like cutthroat. And PGA was making all these like moral stances. Like, if you play in LIV because of the evilness of it, then you're like blacklisted forever. And it's, it's going to kill these people's careers and stuff. And all of a sudden, like a couple of days ago, they announced that they're dropping all litigation and they're merging. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, I saw that the merger on a headline. I didn't look too deeply into it.
It's still pretty under wraps.
Really?
About like what happened. But I mean, I don't know, Hannah. I'm of the mind LIV won for sure. Like
that's what it feels like. It feels like LIV won. I don't know what the terms are of the merger. So it'll be interesting to kind of like really fully dive into that. And it's interesting what it will do. You know, my grandparents have always followed the PGA Tour, and I know that they have said they are probably not going to watch anymore. So they're really disappointed.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, by the merger. And like feel like it's, you know, golf has been one way for the, and they love golf. They were golf coaches all through high school. Called my papa today, and he was getting off the golf course. And you know, he's got his big walking stick and still gets out there on the golf course. So they are not happy with the merge and feel like golf is going to be made a kind of like a spectacle. They really want to make it more of a show, which I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do that.
Well, like one thing Greg Norman said was, you know, he kept saying when he was on the PGA, he's like, put a mic on me, you dum-dums. Like, when I was number one in the world, people were coming to see me and they wanted to hear me talk through like what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. So don't be dumb, put a mic on me. And they win it because of like all the risk and just like, that's not how they've always done it.
Yeah. So I was actually watching the Canadian Open today. And it was the final day of Canada. And I was watching just the main feed on ESPN, and one of the golfers who was from Canada, every time that he came up to tee off, the crowd went nuts, bro. They were like banging on the side. They were like, woo, like going crazy. And like, I want more of that. Yeah. I want more people losing their minds. I want people drinking beer. I want people holding up signs. I want some like Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore stuff going on of like people. I've seen clips all the time of like when you watch the Masters and you see this crowd like forming around the golfer who's about to win. Like that stuff's exciting to watch. The whole pretentious, like be quiet, wear a collared shirt. That's like my least favorite part about golf. I'm like, come on, dude. It feels like people are going to court when they dress up to go to golfing. And I think some of that needs to kind of evolve into maybe chill out, maybe relax.
I do think it's a little generational.
For sure.
And you know, being traditional versus non-traditional, and like it's not a visible sport in my opinion to young people because it does lack that kind of spectacle aspect. You know, kids are loud. And so a golf course is not necessarily where they're going. Although it's not always true. But so generationally, I think it'll be interesting. Like, I don't know if that's where the divide is. I don't know how many young people are going to suddenly be like, absolutely no PGA anymore.
What was the change he also said about how they were going to play? Isn't it like everybody plays at the same time?
Oh, now? Yeah. It used to be like I think it's going to be like certain people start at different holes as opposed to like the way they used to do it, which was like a wave. And so like if you were last and the weather changed, you suddenly, you know.
And it would take longer.
It would take hours.
Yeah, right. Greg Norman was trying to say, essentially, he was trying to describe Twitch without really understanding what Twitch was. But he was just like, and wouldn't it be cool if you could just follow the players that you liked and everybody was always playing so it could always cut to somebody swinging a golf club and like, you know, we're going to make it work that way. But it sounded like a big deal. But Hannah was trying to explain to me why it was a big deal, the way it was changing.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, like, Kevin said in one of our episodes when he was talking about how Saturday Night Live, you watch some of the clips on YouTube of Saturday Night Live, but when you watch the whole thing, it's kind of a stinker.
Yeah.
And golf is kind of like that. Like I watch a lot of ESPN, admittedly, and a lot of top tens do not have golfers on it. So, and I watch golf. I'll watch golf because I know that every once in a while I'll get that dope shot where like some dude just hit a ball and it like skimmed across the water, and it's like, whoa, that's crazy. But most of the time, it is a game of anticipation, and it's pretty. Anything that they can do to spice it up a bit, I'm kind of on board, to be honest.
How do you feel about the Saudi money?
Not great.
It's not great, right? And I think that maybe that's a generational thing too. Is like we are at the point where we're like, we already know it's complicated. Like money is so much more complicated in how funding works that like I'm not going to just say no. I'm not going to watch something because it's not funded the way I want it to, because I don't really know how most things are funded.
Yeah, exactly.
Corporations we have.
I mean, technically, the NBA and the NFL are all, they have shady things about them, but I still tune in.
Viacom, right? Comedy Central is owned by Viacom, who has done things that I haven't liked. And
there you go.
People I don't like.
Yeah. So I don't know. The Saudi thing with LIV, I'm pretty sure I saw that from day one, because Phil Mickelson was getting a lot of crap for being involved in LIV.
Yes.
And the whole thing was seeing Phil Mickelson on the headline next to the word Saudi Arabia for months. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. The free market will dictate how this turns out.
Well, and them combining, I think, was just like we were laughing in the car that it was really like the PGA was just too resistant, and then somebody with money was just like, well, I'm going to force you to do it, and then they forced them to change and innovate, and that can only happen if it was there, if there was a need for it.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'll be watching.
Yeah, let me see how it plays out.
Exactly.
So we talked about a sports battle, and it wasn't from Spencer. Thanks, Hannah.
Dude, good job, guys. We should go golfing sometime.
We should go golfing. I hit some golf balls with my dad the other day. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, I like it. I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it.
Very bad.
Good. We'll get along just fine.
We'll do fine. Hannah can't go with us.
Why?
Oh, we can. She hasn't played in a long time. She's still probably better, though.
Is she super good?
No. I should be better than I am, because I used to go to my grandparents' golf course quite a lot, but I probably didn't have the discipline I needed at the time when I was going. So
it's
interesting.
Golf is kind of like baseball in that the tradition of it is built into the spirit of it right now. But baseball also is having to change and is doing big changes.
Dude, it's huge. It's massive. There's a big changes in baseball right now, and all the old farts are like, I hate it, and all the young people are like, whatever, I'm still gonna watch it. It is what it is. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, where we going next?
Let me minimize this. Exit full screen. We're going to
look at Greg and
I was going to say, look at those eyes. I did not.
Gorgeous.
When we listened to his interview, I did not know that was how he looked.
Have you guys ever seen that golfer? Is it Daly? Last name Daly? John Daly?
I have not seen.
He like smokes a bunch of cigarettes and drinks Coca-Cola all day, but he's hella good. He's hella good.
Is he the one with the beer belly that plays?
Yeah, dude. He's super well known for just kind of how he's a character. He's a character.
PR strategy, because when I watch him, like, he doesn't look like the other ones. He doesn't look like he went to the gym this morning.
And that he did not. That he did not. All right, let's go to the South China Sea.
Woohoo!
And I'm going to read like a little paragraph here, and then I'll have you play this video.
Okay.
All righty. All right, folks. For those of you who don't remember, we've been to the South China Sea before. I'm going to read this little paragraph here. And then Kevin and Hannah specifically, let me know if you're confused about any of the South China Sea stuff, and I'll bring you up to speed. So I got this from CNN and Reuters, whatever, however you pronounce it. So a Chinese fighter jet.
Isn't it Rudders?
Sure, let's do it. Rudders.
Oh.
A Chinese fighter jet conducted an unnecessarily aggressive maneuver during an intercept of a U.S. spy plane in international airspace over the South China Sea last week. The U.S. military said in a statement on Tuesday the Chinese J-16 fighter cut directly in front of the nose of the U.S. RC-135 Rivet Joint Reconnaissance aircraft on May 26th. We're going to see it in the video, but this jet swoops in front of this thing so closely that the jet stream causes turbulence in the airplane. And I peed myself a little bit when I saw this video.
Yeah, that's what got used.
Bro. Go ahead and play this video.
Okay. Also, those are terrible names for aircraft. You're flying pieces of metal through the air. Give them cool names. Like, this is the Bumblebee. Like, this is something cool. Like,
they're not Transformers.
The RCT-35.
Rivet. They have rivets in them, so we'll call it the Rivet. Ah, lame.
I agree. Yeah, so there's no sound.
Okay. And
but
we have the video playing.
Yep, open up your phone and check it out. But here comes this is from the perspective of the United States. You see this jet flying by. Now look at that turbulence. Ooh. Oh my God, dude.
Like the wake in a boat.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about that?
Well, also like the unnecessarily aggressive, like who thought of that? Like, you know, they like asking the guy, like, how would you classify this? Like, it was aggressive, like, but was it necessary? Unnecessary. It was unnecessarily
very unnecessary.
It was a power play. It was I'm gonna shake you up.
Yeah, I want to watch that part again. Let's see.
Yeah, watch the like turbulence part. I had to rewatch it multiple times. Here he comes. It's like, da da da.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I would not feel good about that. And of course, there's an airman with a cell phone being like, I'm gonna come over here and record this still, which is hilarious. So the plane that we were inside of was conducting a safe and routine operation in international airspace. The United States this is what the Indo-Pacific Command says. They said the United States will continue to fly, sail, and operate safely and responsibly wherever international law allows. And the U.S. Indo-Pacific Joint Force will continue to fly in international airspace with due regard for the safety of all vessels and aircraft under international law. As expected, the whole thing is turning pretty childish. I don't know if you guys have seen anything about this, but it's turning into a very childish argument where the U.S. views it as international airspace and conducting routine drills, whereas China sees it as an act of aggression. And I kind of agree with Secretary Blinken, who was saying that, like, if we have some sort of miscommunication about everything that we're doing here, that miscommunication is probably what's going to lead to aggression. Like, if we don't have open lines of communication about everything that's going on, like, hey, the United States is doing some drills in the air because it's international airspace, and China decides to just not care about that like miscommunication, I could see things going pretty not great about it.
Makes me feel really good. My stomach feels really good.
Are there rules about international waters? Like, do you have to, like, is there a place you're supposed to notify people that you're flying into it or sailing into it, or there's no rules like that?
No, I'm pretty sure there's rules. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's an international rule that people, I mean, you'd probably want to ask your dad, but
well, I mean, I suppose there would have to be because of like the air.
But it's one of those things, right?
Control.
It can't be enforceable.
Yeah. Well, right. I was just wondering, like, so did they fly in there and not say, hey, we're here conducting something, or did they say we're going to go conduct this, and the jet came and was like, F that?
So that's a really good question, but we're going to find out as we move along here in some of my things that I'm sharing. The United States and a lot of other countries are in that area, and they've been conducting things, and China 100% knows that people are there.
So it's not like prize.
Okay, so the biggest thing here, and we covered this in a at ease months ago, but China views the South China Sea, and I guess apparently the air above it as well, as their sovereign territory. And we have put videos on our Instagram of boats sucking up sand from the bottom of the ocean and spitting sand on coral reefs to create their own, they're terraforming their own islands in the South China Sea, and they're creating like military bases in the South China Sea. And the biggest reason that the South China Sea is such precious territory is one, there's oil there, right? And then there's also like hundreds of thousands of different species of fish there. But the biggest kicker is that those iPhones in your pockets go through the South China Sea to get to the United States or other parts of the world. Yep. So if China has that piece of ocean as their sovereign land, they can essentially tax trade through there, which is pretty much the plot of the first Star Wars movie. But yeah, taxations of trade routes and things like that. So that's why everyone is like, bro, it's the ocean, the United States and everybody else is allowed to go through that. And China's like, that's our ocean. It is called the South China Sea after all. So that's the big kicker right now.
It's wild.
All right. It is very wild.
I wonder how China is. I keep going back to like the unnecessarily aggressive. If like China's narrative is like it was necessarily aggressive. Like if they just took out the un.
Interesting.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. But let's see here. Is it June 7th right now? No, it's June 11th. So like 6 days ago, something like that, the United States, Japan, and the Philippines have been conducting joint drills.
Yes.
And these drills in the South China Sea, they're basically practicing pulling up next to boats and trying to like commandeer these boats and get rid of weapons of mass destructions if they are on those boats. So they're doing like essentially anti weaponry drills in the South China Sea right now.
But also piracy drills.
Also that.
Yeah.
Also that. Mm-hmm. So that's drills,
and I should have thought of pirates, but I thought of like overweight nerds like hacking away. I was like, why would they do that?
No, I'm thinking of modern day like Sir Francis Drake.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Or what? Privateers.
Privateers. There we go. Privateers. A pirate is unpaid by a government, and a privateer is paid by a government.
If you want to, since we're on this topic, Kevin, you can show that video of those boats in the Taiwan Strait.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you play that, I'll just basically say, the United States military released this video last Monday, and they're calling it unsafe Chinese maneuver in the Taiwan Strait on Saturday, in which a Chinese Navy ship cut sharply across the path of an American destroyer, forcing the U.S. vessel to slow to avoid a collision. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. And both these videos from Telegraph. Give a little shout out.
Yeah. Just coming in real close, like.
Seems unnecessary.
Like the airplane and the jet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't understand. There's so much ocean. Like, how do you mess this up? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, we have we're sharing the whole ocean here. How does a professional military accidentally almost hit another ship? That's all I gotta say about that.
I just did this on the warship game we have.
Yeah, it's like a crossing the T kind of thing going on that we did from LIV Golf.
Dang. That was great.
Yeah, so that was during a freedom.
Too.
Yeah.
But this guy's saying that it was because there was an act of provocation. They were provoked to do that.
So it says here that the United States we were conducting a freedom of navigation drill. so this happens all the time. We've done this in previous at eases where we covered the South China Sea, but countries will all the time just sail through the South China Sea just to literally prove to China that they're allowed to do that.
It's positional authority stuff. Like you can't give up the position or else you lose the authority of it.
Right.
It's also nana nana boo boo.
A little bit. I mean, he's not. It's a good.
Which
Chinese,
I totally am on board with.
Yeah, I was like, but him saying provocation, like it kind of is like, hey, we're still here. Not saying it's right or wrong, but
yeah. So again, this is all just, it's just raising the concern of, from my perspective, it looks like at this rate, considering the way that everything's being handled both in the air and on the sea, is that shit's going to start by accident. Like it's going to be over something really silly. And then they're going to be like, fuck it, shoot a missile, shoot it, go for it. So yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Perhaps, if that does go down, it's going to be interesting to see the younger generation get upset about not being able to get the new iPhone for a while.
All I know is they better just fucking be adults. Everyone just be adults for like 10 minutes. Just like sit in the room, be like, no one has to die. This is 2023.
What's a good example of an adult?
I don't know.
I'm a great example of an adult.
You are a great example.
That's true.
Everyone just be like me.
Yeah, true. If you guys ever are walking in the hills and you see a huge, scary cow.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Hannah doesn't give a shit, bro. Hannah didn't give a shit. So there we were, walking as a family through the hills of Vacaville. And we came across this cow that was trying to find its baby. And it was like it was actually a really touching, powerful moment watching this cow go find this baby. And it finally found the baby and was like protecting it with its entire body and just staring at us. And everyone looked at me like, Spencer, how do you feel about this? Do you want to walk by? And I was like, no. I want to respect the cow. And literally right after I said that, Hannah was just like, yeah, I don't have time for this. And just walked right by the cow. It was pretty badass.
Yep, that's what she does.
No big deal, huh?
No big deal. Yeah, well, it makes me, I honestly, because I haven't been overly impressed with Biden's presidency.
No?
I've been whelmed maybe by it.
Yeah.
Him falling over things all the time is hard optics for me.
Like physically falling over?
Yeah,
yes, bro, it's hilarious.
Trip over a sandbag, and like I'm not saying anything like I trip all the time, but like I'm not the face of a country that's almost at war with.
Yep.
I remember when what was it? Bush ate it on a bike and like scraped his face up.
Yeah, Biden's also fallen on bikes.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Times. And they released the video. I was listening to America's Top Hat, and they're like, he should just own it. They should like put out like a most wanted for like the sandbag and like release the photo, like own that it happened. And instead, they're like, we won't show the video. Like, now I really want to watch the video.
Yeah, I've seen him falling on a stage where he like full on like his feet go up in the air. It's wild.
Great.
No, that's not good.
But anyway, been whelmed. But Blinken trying to have these secret meetings with China, like I do fucking appreciate that. Like I have been appreciating that he's been trying, at least the reports that we are getting is that he's trying to make contact as much as possible. I hope that's true.
Did you call him blinked in?
Maybe.
That's a cool name. We should start calling him blinked in instead.
Yeah, he's blinked in. He's just like blinking in.
Just instead of checking in, he's blinking in. I get it. I get what you're putting down. I like it. Where are we going to next?
Yeah, okay. I wasn't gonna, we're staying away from Ukraine, Russia, although I really wanted to get into Ukraine losing their dam, but it's just so hard to find sources that aren't just tied down to like, it's so much fog of war still that we can't cover it, honestly.
Yep.
But this one, Hannah and I have had a lot of conversations about the Donald Trump being indicted. And I read through it and I got really interested in it. So I started talking to Hannah about it a couple days ago. And she said, didn't this same thing happen and nothing happened after that?
That's right.
Which I thought was a really fair point. And so then I dug a little bit deeper, and I just wanted to talk about potentially why it's different. About this battle for, is Donald Trump doing something more naughty than you're supposed to as president? And before we start, I think Hannah had a good conversation. Let me know if I'm not characterizing it correctly, Hannah, but it was essentially, we both came to the conclusion, like, we both worked in government. We know that these guys aren't really just, like, they aren't the total presence of them, like, their personality or, like, who they are. And as a president, like, they have a whole team. And so documents could make their way, and they may not be able to keep track of them all because they may not be the ones physically moving all the documents and stuff. And like, shit happens. I'm actually not losing sleep if a president has like a couple files that are classified in their house. Right? Is that kind of where we were at? Like everybody, I would expect, it's not great, and they should get like a slap on the wrist, but it's kind of, I feel normal. Yeah. Okay. So then I was like, reading about why this one's different. And if you're interested in this topic, do not read left-leaning articles because they are terrible. They're so like emotional, and they made us, because they made us feel on the last time this happened that he was going down, like the Stormy Daniels stuff, and like maybe having a classified document, like he was going down. And then when nothing happened, you're like, well, like that was bad information. So I've only been trying to really read like right-leaning news or pro-establishment news, just to see like what are they gonna concede on, so that maybe I can understand it better. And
fascinating.
There's 37 federal counts, which is a lot of counts to charge somebody on. And before I even go into more of the story, have you looked at all these photos, Spencer?
No, dude. I don't know.
Okay, these are great. Listeners, if you have Spotify or if you're on YouTube, like please look at, or if you don't, look at them later. They are crazy. So this is to show you that this isn't what Hannah and I were talking about, where like, yeah, you could have a couple documents lying around. Like, I get that. Like, someone, like your aide stuffed it into your desk because it's classified and they didn't want it to be out. Like, this isn't that. This is different. Here's his bathroom.
Boxes.
And they said they're behind the shower, too. Okay. And listeners, if you can't look at it, okay, let me describe it to you.
It's walls of boxes.
In his bathroom, surrounding the toilet, is like 30-something boxes, cases of files. And these are all classified, like super classified documents.
Check out that chandelier, though, in his bathroom.
Chandelier in the bathroom.
And the gold gilded mirror.
The dude loves gold.
I'm surprised that the shower curtain isn't nicer. I'll say that.
A little bit. Or that the window.
I was going to say the window's disappointing.
Yeah, the window's disappointing. This gives off the airs of like, I have paid for some renovations, but I haven't really thought through it all. Okay, here is another storage space, which
pallets
has,
of...
Yeah, that's a pallet.
That's good.
Oh, no.
All classified documents they found.
Ooh, yo, wow.
Another space, we have boxes and boxes. So we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of files, like thousands of files. There's no way that this is, you left a couple in your desk. This is different.
Holy shit.
And like, you can just see, like, these are intense things. Like, these shouldn't be out. This is, I think, behind the stage. So you see like a guitar here.
Yeah.
This is the stage. And a comment on one of the Republican websites I was on was great, which is like, so that your classified documents are as public as humanly fucking possible, you put them behind the stage. Which I appreciate that they did that. Here's more pallets.
Okay, so wait, Kevin, I don't. You're stop me if you're going to get into it at some point. But are we familiar with like what type of information are in these boxes?
So these photos, I'm looking at them from PBS. They actually came from the Department of Defense. They released them when they unsealed the indictment against Donald Trump. They haven't gone, as to my knowledge, they haven't gone over the specifics of everything yet. That's coming up really soon with like one of the next hearings. But we do know, like in general, like some of it's like military planning. Some of it's like stuff you shouldn't have in pallets of boxes. So I don't know all the details, unfortunately. But as soon as they say military planning, I'm like, well, you shouldn't have that one. Like that's the one you put back. You make sure to put that one back. Yeah. So different, right? Everyone's now on like, that's a different event than what we've heard, even from like Pence having classified documents. It wasn't that.
Yikes, dude.
It still It's hard for me to think anything's going to happen.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree 100%. I'm in the school of thought that if something was going to happen to Donald Trump, it would have happened a long time ago.
Agreed.
So
Yep.
when I was reading the Republican or I shouldn't say the right leaning news articles and stuff I was looking at, one thing that they were saying that was fundamentally different, this is from like one of their lawyers, was saying that what they have this time, besides these photos, which are just horrible to have, like, I can't believe this happened, was they have people under oath this time. So they have testimony under oath. And they didn't have that in the other trials, besides like Stormy Daniels, essentially. And I didn't know that, but this time they have aides and they have what they think are people that must have worked with Donald Trump that, they are under oath, which means they will be criminally charged if they're lying. So they're probably not lying. And that's going to make it fun. Like that lawyer was like, this is a point that you can't miss for in retrospect when you look back on like why did it work this time and not the other times. Again, I'm still with you guys. I don't know if anything's going to happen, but those 2 points, the photos are damning. Like
The pictures are interesting. It's just like
if you put that in front of a jury, the jury's gonna be like, "Why did you need it in your potty?" Like,
just like reading while you're going to the bathroom.
So, one time when I was in Afghanistan, and for those listening who don't know, I was in intelligence. Okay. And the handling of classified information is an extremely big deal. And and I'll give you an example. While I was deployed, I had put the HBO show The Pacific had come out, and somebody put it on an external hard drive for me. Okay. I put non-classified stuff on a classified hard drive. And because I put a non-classified thing on a classified hard drive, I got kicked out of my unit. I had to go do something else in Afghanistan. I had to go stand watch for like the rest of my deployment because I did that.
Really?
Yes. That's not like, technically speaking, you would think like that's not a big deal. Like I put a TV show on a classified hard drive, but because I did that, I was definitely like, I got in big trouble. I got in huge trouble. If I was not overseas, they probably would have like court-martialed me or something. But like, so I'm fine now, but I get kind of heated when I hear about these presidents or people in Washington mishandling classified information. I'm like, bro, in the military, they do not fuck around with that. Like you get in serious trouble if you do anything even remotely bad. So we'll see.
Am I mistaken in that it's both boring and thorough in like changing hands? I remember my buddy, I won't go into specifics on who or any of that, but one of my buddies talked about changing hands of like nuclear submarines with like other countries, a part of like a program. And he said it was the worst because it was so stressful because of all the things you had to obviously do. But it was so goddamn boring to do it. And it took like days to do it. It was a horrible experience for him.
Yep. Writing intelligence reports, sometimes you would have guys fly from different parts of the area of operation to be like, we read your document and you need to change this one word because that changes the classification. Like crazy stuff like that. So it's taken super seriously. There is a level of excitement when dealing with things way beyond your maturity level like that. But it's just upsetting when you see a bathroom filled with boxes and boxes of classified shit. It's like, damn, if this dude was a sergeant, he'd go to prison, bro. Like you'd be so screwed. So
one thing that is helping Trump is that I think part of the trial or whatever, for whatever reason, I don't understand exactly how the court proceedings work, but it will come out of Florida. And so like he has some advantage there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. The bathroom photo.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
of all the things he's done, it's crazy to me that like that's the one that's like I can't get out of my head for the last 2 days. Like,
Yeah, dude,
I can't believe
I'm
Potty.
I'm extremely excited to talk to a lot of people and be like, have you guys seen these pictures?
Yeah.
And when they're like, no, I'm like, have you not been watching Battle Buddies? All right. Have you guys seen the new survey that came out about teachers and guns?
No.
No.
Let's watch the video.
Okay.
It's only like 2 minutes.
Leisure for some, but for others, the weapons are a serious public safety threat. A new survey shows that teachers are split about whether they should arm themselves to make schools safer. Astrid Martinez explains.
Gun violence and school safety are top of mind for every community, especially for parents, students, and teachers. Now, a Rand Corporation survey finds 1 in 5 teachers say they would be interested in carrying a gun to school. 20% believe teachers carrying a gun would make schools safer, but 54% believed armed teachers would make schools less safe. And 26% feel either way, it would not make a difference.
I think that they're just under a lot of stress.
Emily Rovar is a licensed social worker at Gen Psych. She says teachers today bear a greater burden.
Not only are they teaching our children, they are having to be mental health professionals in a way, dealing with high emotions, dealing with kids in distress. And then in the back of their mind, they always have the thought of what if someone does come in this school.
And while guns are certainly a big worry, the survey shows teachers' top safety concern is bullying. Rovar says social media plays a big role and makes situations a lot worse.
It is something that is really pervasive and it's increasing. And it's something that we need to talk about and do something about.
Her suggestions: increasing the presence of safety officers and mental health professionals in schools, steps that could help students and their teachers feel safer. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Woohoo!
Okay. So
That was from Ken's 5, the news source, San Antonio news source.
thank you, Kevin. It's also it's been covered on a bunch of different it's a huge survey that came out across the nation about asking teachers about being armed. And so I need your guys' help. Okay. So listeners, for those of you who don't know, next year will be my first year of having my own classroom. Okay. And absolutely 100% in the back of my mind, I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to go work at one of the most dangerous places in the United States, a public school. Now, obviously, for the majority of my life, even in recent history, like, I don't know, like a couple months ago, I'd have been like, arming teachers is really stupid. And that's like an obvious duh, don't do that. But let me play devil's advocate here for a moment. Can we agree that our country cares more about guns than children's lives?
Yes, I mean that's
Feels
the
that
way
way.
that the legislation is.
Okay, it feels that way. Okay, so if I have to accept that, then what? Like, why me as a teacher would I not be like, fine, fuck it. If you're going to give me the option to have a gun, fuck it. You guys obviously aren't going to take any other measurements into like, you're not going to do anything else. So if they were like, hey, Mr. Schultz, Mr. Parker, you can go to Sacramento for a week, and the Defense Department comes out and they give you a class about how to have a gun in the classroom, and you can have a gun in the classroom. It's like, if that's your fucking option, maybe then maybe I do that. Here's the thing: if a child knew that all these teachers were packing, would they come shoot up a school? Like, how many people go to like police stations and shoot up police stations or military bases or like places where they know people are packing? I don't know if they do. And the sad thing is like, I obviously don't want that to be a thing, but what are my other options? Because it doesn't seem like I have any. It seems like it's just like, and now we know that like when cops do get called, they're like, yeah, we can't go in there. We're not going to go run in there. So it's like, fuck, dude, maybe do give me a gun. I don't know. Like,
I think I think we're both thinking the same thing, which is like, I've seen teachers not be able to turn on a projector and like get violently angry at kids for like, I don't know, not bringing a pencil to school. And like, do I want that person to also have a gun?
well, so what if it was an option? So what if it was like people had to like literally pass like a course and you had to like do a whole thing? No?
I would.
Hannah,
I would.
tell me why I'm wrong.
I just I feel like it's inviting, well, like if you look at police, like who get all this training and they still make mistakes out. And yes, they're like in a, often dark place where rough stuff is going on. But like, I don't feel like inviting that into my school. And I think it just sounds like a disaster. And I also think that anybody who goes to a school and shoots it up, I don't think they're in a right state of mind, and they're not necessarily thinking, well, there's no weapons there. Most of them, I think, know they're going to get gunned down in the end. And so I don't feel like it's that big of a hindrance. I feel like it's whatever message they're trying to send, the school is like, for some reason, like their vehicle. I don't know.
Yeah, their platform.
Yeah, I just think that they're already out of their mind. So
yeah.
But I'm also like, I do not come from a family who's ever like, I've never held a gun. They freak me out. I just yeah. So it's a little bit of a personal thing too. Like you've been in the military and have probably been around weapons and know your way and somewhat or something. And then Kevin's family has used guns before, like recreationally and stuff like that, but not me. I never have.
I think at the end of the day, it's just really sad that me as somebody who obviously strongly would not want this to happen is be like, fine, dude, if you guys literally aren't going to do anything to like regulate this shit and actually make me feel safer at school, then fuck it. I don't have any other choice but then to be like, just give me a gun, then fuck it. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's true. It is definitely like well, what's the alternative that well, it's nothing. So
yeah. So I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to think about because us three here are teachers. We're related to we have nothing but friends that are teachers, and it's like, dang, do you ever stop and think like, holy shit, like today might be the day? Like Jesus, yeah, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. We don't get combat pay or anything like that, so I don't know. That's just an interesting concept to me, and I like I said, if the Department of Defense came out and they're like, hey, teachers now have this option, I would think about it.
Yeah.
Whereas a year ago, it'd been like, that's stupid. I don't think that should be a thing. But now I'm like, well, this country obviously cares more about guns than making the right changes. So I don't know.
That video was interesting though, because it was talking about like putting more resource officers in schools, but like haven't recently from like, I didn't recently places like get rid of all their resource officers because of.
Was it Davis? Did Davis do that?
It was like Oakland or
yeah, it was somewhere close to where we live.
That were fighting to Los Angeles that were fighting to get resource officers out of the schools because police has become something that and I feel like some places succeeded, and so
it's so hard.
Yeah, it is. It's hard.
Well, because it's always a trap. Like I'm very liberal naturally, like in my political leanings, but I know my trap, which is the same one that all liberals have, which is what that freaking social worker was saying, like put more, make the school a bigger entity. And that's not the answer, because eventually the school is going to be like the government food bank, and it's going to be the dormitory for kids, and it's going to become this like way too powerful. Like, why do schools suddenly have the ability to arrest kids? Like, I don't know if we need that much authority in the schools. Like, what if we started like de-escalating what the school could do? And like, I know we can't. I know it's super complicated, but like there could be maybe just let them leave then for a while if they need to leave. And I know you can't do that, but my thinking I don't think is totally wrong in that us escalating it constantly can't be the right answer, because we keep getting these results of kids shooting up the school. But I'm with you. I'm pragmatic still, because I'm a teacher that wants to survive for 30 years. And I want to get home to my kids. And if I knew other teachers were going to have guns, then in my mind, the school's already escalated. And so I know that I'll be safe, and then I could protect some kids. So it'd be hard for me to say no. But I want to be the one pushing the legislation through.
Right. At the end of the day, listeners and us here talking, I don't know the right answer, and I'm just talking about how I feel. That's it. This is a conversation of feelings. I don't know what the right answer is, obviously.
I don't think there is a right answer.
Right. Right. But that's the battle of teachers and guns.
It's crazy.
It is
It is
crazy.
crazy that that's even a battle we have to have, and it's so
Exactly. That's the initial sadness right there, is that I, going into a new profession, have to be like, oh shit, that's a new thing that I'm gonna have to worry about getting like shot at school. And that's like a legitimate rational fear.
Dude, my PTSD was so bad from my emotional disturbance classes.
Yeah.
Even in movie theaters with Hannah,
Oh, I bet.
because I couldn't have my back to a door because kids would sneak in and like hit me. And so like at a movie theater, you have the doors are behind you on both sides. Like I really like was anxious.
I completely understand, dude. I
That's only
completely
very
understand.
recently I can, turn toward like have my back to the door, not like be losing it inside.
Yep. Yep. For the longest time, I couldn't go to movie theaters and just stare at those exit signs like right in front.
Like,
yeah.
They could just come right in there.
Yeah. Totally. Totally agree, dude. I completely understand.
I've lived a very Nerf ball life.
No, you used to have to get the phone calls where they're like, he's not dead.
That's right.
He's just in the emergency
Get a
room.
call
He's
from
fine."
his principal. Hey, I know you're teaching, but you might need to go to the hospital. Like, what?
Dang.
Yeah, it was terrible. I was always like, am I getting the call where someone has stabbed him finally?
Oh my God. Oh, dude, that's horrible. Goodness gracious. Well, shout out to teachers everywhere, dude. We salute you. This country does not respect teachers enough. It's the fact of life. Maybe some states do, but here in California, we got work to do.
Mm-hmm.
We should move to, I looked it up. We should move to Luxembourg. Luxembourg is the highest paid teachers in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in Finland? Where's Luxembourg? Oh.
It's right near Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We've always been, when I was in the credentialing program, it was always like, oh, like Finland and like those places.
Yep.
So not here.
No, not here. Anyway, do you have any positive news?
Well, no.
We're on summer break.
That's true.
That's very positive.
Yeah.
Do you guys want me to end with what? Oh, do you got something for me, or do you want me to end with what you want me to say?
I got one. Oh, so for this story, you mean?
Oh, you got something? Give it to me.
Well, so we don't have time to go through all of ISIS stuff. In general, ISIS activities are down. I've been reading through, which has just been great, There has been some interesting counterterrorism stuff, but I just wanted to end with talking about my favorite part of reading through this stuff, which is the Al-Naba, which is ISIS's weekly article. You can see
You're their number one fan, dude.
I'm in that thing. But I thought this was interesting because, they've been on a downward trend. Fighting is still happening. It's like mainly Africa right now that's like blowing up with all the different stuff. But we don't have time to get into all of it. Anyway, so I'll just read a little bit from the Spotlight on Global Jihad from the Al-Naba. It was published this week under the title, Why Do We Carry Out Jihad? The article stresses the importance of jihad in the process of imposing Islam in the world and purging it of the infidels. The author notes that the Quran commands Muslims to fight the infidels until the infidels accept Islam and even sacrifice their lives for this mission. The writer even clarifies that nowadays preaching Islam is not enough because the infidels do not want to hear it. Therefore, a decisive war must be waged against the infidels who do not accept Islam by choice. The writer adds that ISIS does not fight the infidels solely because of their hostility towards Islam, and not only because of the theft of the Muslim resources and lands, but out of a genuine religious commitment to impose Islam on the world.
We're running out of ideas.
Yeah, I was like, man, what are you talking about? Also,
reaching.
Very bad persuasion, because I'm not joining now. I am interested in all religions and all faiths until you say that if you don't, I'm going to kill you. I'm not interested in yours.
It's like they're truly running out of steam. Like they're really running out of things they're running out of enemies. I don't know.
Well, and I think it's a effort to radicalize those that are just deeply religious and not extremist, and just Yeah. So it's a good bad, right? Because I imagine some very devout person is going to read this and like accidentally get sucked into the rhetoric.
Totally. But I agree with you. It is a good bad where it's like, it feels like they're on one hand, I feel like they're running out of steam, and then on the other, I think you are right that very lonely and sad people will be like, well, this works for me.
It's like flat earthers, right? How do people become flat earthers? They don't say, "Hey, would you want to hear about why the earth is flat?" They say, "Hey, do you want to go have a beer and bowl?"
Right. Of course. Yeah. Hey, are you lonely? Are you doing anything? Would you like to feel accepted? Yeah.
Also, I've been watching The Boys season 3. Have you watched The Boys?
No, but I know I need to.
It's so good, and they make so many of these like those kinds of moments of like you watch this guy become like an alt-right for the evil superhero, and it's pretty good stuff.
Okay. I'll get there one of these days, I promise.
But there's forewarning, there's lots of penises.
Oh, well, we need to bring male nudity back.
But like weird penises.
I don't watch the show. He's told me some stuff, and I'm just like, what?
Like Ant-Man goes into a dude's penis essentially in one of the
Cool. Up the urethra. That's what I'm talking about, dude. I couldn't sleep naked for years because I was afraid a bug was gonna crawl up there.
Oh,
True
really?
story. Yeah, and then Aaron was like, "That's stupid," and then I got over it. Yeah. All right. Do you want to show that last little news clip?
Yeah, this super positive
Say,
one.
say it for me. Let me hear you.
No, wait, it's meanwhile in Afghanistan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll just read you guys the title. This is from Weon. And it says, Afghanistan, nearly 80 girls poisoned in 2 schools in northern part of the country.
Anti.
Fuck you.
Distressing incident reported from Afghanistan. Nearly 80 girls have been hospitalized in cases of suspected poisoning. The cases bring back grim memories of neighboring Iran, where multiple such instances were reported a few months ago. The incidents were reported on Saturday as well as Sunday in Saripul province in northern Afghanistan. Officials say that female students from grades 1st to 6th were targeted. The 2 affected schools are located close to each other and were targeted almost around the same time. As per authorities, 60 girls were poisoned in one primary school and 17 in the other. The condition of the girls said to be safe. Investigations are underway. The cases bring back memories of similar incidents in Iran, as I mentioned. Nearly 13,000 students had fallen sick in these attacks. This is the first ever case of this kind to be reported in the Taliban-led Afghanistan.
Holy shit. Did she 13,000?
Weon is now.
All right.
That's great.
Oh.
Pretty depressing. Yeah, so
I try to be pretty like even as far radicalized as people become for like something like a jihad. I try to like understand their perspectives, but like the bombings and shit of all girls schools, like I just will never fucking like there is no part of me that I feel like could be radicalized to do that. I don't get it.
yeah, dude, no, it's horrible. Since March 2022, so we're coming up on like a year or so. Women and girls have been barred from attending schools above the 6th grade, prohibited from public spaces, jobs, and travel. So, pretty big deal. I just wish, I don't know, it breaks my whole, it like breaks my soul. I don't know. That's, man, out of all the things going on over there, that's just something that I wish the United States would be like, let's just go in there and get on. Let's start somebody. I know that it wouldn't work out smoothly like that, but man, it's a fucked up arrangement.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe we should give these girls guns.
Hey, not again. I know, and because you know a little bit. You were in my classroom last year, but I had like that picture. We were recreating a mural of one of the girls' schools that were bombed. I'm trying to make it like relative to these students that are not we're having such a huge problem getting kids to school across America. And
they're so lucky.
Yeah. And I feel bad even doing that because I know, like, as a kid, I'm like, you know, you better eat your plate because somebody's starving in Africa. I'm like, okay, like, now I just feel guilty and full. And so, like, I don't really understand how I'm supposed to finish it now. But, like, I get the premise of it. But it is something as an adult when you're looking at it, you're like, I'm trying to do a good job. I know that in other parts of the world right now, this is being stopped. And, you know, there's no real silver bullets, I think, in the world for many issues. And I think it was Aaron Sorkin in The West Wing. It probably was. But it was essentially like, but there is one silver bullet, and it's just educating. Like, we should just educate everybody. And, like,
exactly.
that solve most problems if everybody has a good education.
Yep. I 100% agree. And I can't tell you how many so I worked in attendance and welfare for the last 2 years, and my job was getting kids to school. And I can't tell you how many times I spoke to students where I'm like, there are countries where kids are fighting to just go to class, fighting. And you're sitting here like, yeah, I want to play Fortnite. And you're like, oh my God, dude.
Even like migrant farm workers in California, like, that's a huge issue. And they are trying to get to school. But
yeah,
it's so hard because their parents move every season. They aren't being exposed to to English, so they're classified as what you call like newcomers. So they're put into like an English classroom. It's all a mess.
It is a mess, but maybe we should end with the same thing that we started with, where Hannah said we are on summer vacation. Do you guys have any really positive, cool plans this summer? Are you going anywhere cool?
Yeah. Well, we're going to see his parents in Reading tomorrow.
Love it.
And we are going to Idaho to see his sister and all his cousins. And
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Then we will come home for like a day and drive to Oregon.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, you guys are going to be busy.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Our privileged, spoiled ass kids are going to Disneyland next month with us, so that'll be great.
It'll be fun.
Woo!
I hear they got rid of FastPass, so enjoy the lines. Maybe they have something new, but
No, you're really talking Disneyland up right now. Yeah, that sounds fun. I wish I was there right now. Yeah, we have exciting stuff coming on the show here within the next couple weeks. We have a really, really, really special guest that we're doing on Thursday.
Yep.
That I'm like stoked as all hell about. Yep. And then Kevin is finishing up Julius Caesar, which for me, I'm having like postpartum stuff with that. Like, I'm going to be like a little bit sad.
Be sad for sure.
I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. I feel like I've gotten so close with Julius Caesar and the Gaul.
Just re-listen to your own episodes.
Wow.
It's good advice. Yeah, well, other than that, thank you listeners for listening. Thank you, Hannah, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Killing it.
We need some more Hannah logic in our, not just the show, but the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be melodramatic, but
I did say I was the example adult. I did say that.
Yeah, with confidence. You said it with confidence. Yeah, so thank you, listeners. If you are listening to this right now, we would adore it if you shared our episode by word of mouth and rated our show and told people about it. We appreciate you, and we're excited for what's going to happen with our show over the summer. Until then, we will see you next time, and bonsai.
Bonsai.
Oh, man.
Nice. Beautiful time.